Today is going to be an absolutely jam-packed day. Right now I need to go get my haircut. Then we're going to go pick up the car. Then we've got friends coming over. It's going to be a crazy day. I'm so tired. I did not get enough sleep last night. The good news is I am on time for my haircut. I just finished up my haircut. I'm feeling pretty good about it. So now we are at the dealership where we're about to buy a Hyundai Santa Fe. Now, when I buy cars, I try and do it a little bit different because I spend a lot of time thinking about how to structure finances, and I try to be really, really good with money. And so there's 3 principles that I want to walk you through that should really influence how you think about money when you're considering something like buying a car. The first principle is the idea of putting your money towards the highest interest rate you can at any given point, whether that interest rate is positive or negative. So positive being something like a savings account or an investment, or negative like a debt. So the idea is if you have a credit card with 22% interest and you have a savings account with 5% interest, don't put your money in your savings account until the high percent interest thing is paid off. But by the same token, if you have a investment that's maybe giving you a 5% return per year, like a mutual fund or an index fund or something like that, take every dime you can get at a lower interest percent than that. So if you have a lower interest rate on your car, a lower interest rate on your house, don't bother paying them off because you're actually making yourself worse off in the long run by paying those things off because you're missing out on that 5% interest rate you could be making. And so if you actually just do the subtraction between the higher interest rate and the lower interest rate, that's how much you're losing by putting the money in one place versus the other.
So if we think about this on a $10,000 loan, and you were comparing a loan interest of 1.9% to an investment account of returning about 5%, you'd pay about $490 in interest. But if you, instead of just paying that loan off day one and saving that $490, you invested that at the 5%, you would basically make $1,000 in terms of the return from the investment, which then you just subtract out the loan interest and you come out $500 ahead overall.
The second principle that I want to talk about is running your financial life as a business. So when you buy a car, when you buy a house, those aren't actually expenses. So what I mean is when you buy a car that's maybe $20,000, $30,000, you don't lose the $20,000 or $30,000, right? It's not actually an expense to you. You immediately take a hit because every time you drive a car off the lot of the dealership, you're going to lose a bunch of money. But most of the expense or most of the cost of owning a car comes over the lifetime of the car in the form of depreciation. Because the moment you buy a car, you buy a house, right? You're giving them a bunch of cash in exchange for something that's valuable, right? You don't lose all of the money day one. And so thinking about it that way is you should actually be just doing the math of what is the cost of year one to drive the car off the dealership lot, and then how much am I paying in depreciation each year for the car? And then you can contrast that with something like leasing, which is almost always a bad idea, but you should at least run the numbers.
So again, if I buy a car that costs $10,000, I'm not really paying $10,000 because I immediately acquire an asset that starts at around $8,000, and then that asset's going to depreciate over each year, which you can kind of think of it as every year that you continue owning the car, you're going to end up paying that depreciation amount in order to keep owning that car, because at any point you could sell it and get the cash value for it.
So the last principle I want to talk about is the idea of net present value. So I learned all about this as part of my business degree, and net present value is basically just saying there is a time value to money. Money is worth more today than it will be tomorrow. Not just from inflation, but just from opportunity cost, right? And so when you consider that if you had $100 today or $100 tomorrow, $100 today is more valuable, you can actually use that to make financial decisions. And so one of the ways of doing that is to calculate the net present value of something. So, for example, one of the considerations I was making as part of buying this car was, should I go 0% APR for 48 months, or should I go 1.9% APR for 60 months? Right, the 60 month is actually nice because the longer I can draw out the spending on the car, the better it is, because every year the money is worth less and less, and actually the loan becomes worth less and less, or costs less and less. But at the same time, there's an interest rate better, right? So there's an improvement to the interest rate. And so you actually have to look at, okay, year 0, all the money is kind of considered equal. But then year 1, that money is worth less. And so based on how much I pay when, you can actually work backwards, right? So if you consider that the cost of capital, so to say, or the discount rate is 5% for you, you have to pick your own number based on kind of your outlook on the world. But I used 5%. And so the money that I spend in year 1 is only worth 95% as much. And in year 2, it's 95% squared. Year 3, 95% cubed, and so on. And so you can actually line all this up in a spreadsheet and say, in today's dollars, how much does this loan cost me? Taking into account the entire lifetime of the loan.
So for the final set of numbers here, I'm going to look at a 1.9% loan or a 0% for 48-month loan on a $10,000 car with a weighted average cost of capital of 5%. So that's what I could make effectively out on the market. And so the present value of the 60-month loan at a 1.9% interest is actually $9,492 in today's dollars. But the present value for the 48-month at 0% interest is less, so $9,274, which means that it costs me less today to take on a 48-month loan than a 60-month loan at a higher interest rate. Let's go get you a car.
Let's go.
Another Tesla delivery dealership. Are you excited?
It still has a sticker on it.
Yeah, I know. So your first brand new car, how are you feeling?
Really excited. But also there's a baby waiting to be fed, so my mind is...
We just finished up with the car purchase transaction and we were getting loaded into the car and it started pouring rain. So I'm here with the Nugget, we're driving home. Stats driving home separately. We're gonna be home soon, it should be okay. So this is the new Hyundai Santa Fe sitting in our garage. Let's check it out. So it's got push button start, so let's get it started here. Ooh, fancy. So what I wanna do is I wanna try and get Android Auto working. So I tried one cable already, and that cable did not work. So fortunately we actually have 3 different USB-C cables to USB-A. I'm gonna see if any of these actually work. And there it is. This is my first experience with Android Auto. So apparently it integrates with steering wheel buttons, which is kind of cool.